This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Decision time. The jury deliberates in the trial of a man accused of murdering Pat Stay. Day parole, the latest on the man convicted of striking and killing a 10-year-old girl on her bike. And Brad Marchand has a chance to bring the Stanley Cup back home to Nova Scotia tonight.
Increasing clouds with a chance of showers rolling in from west to east throughout the day on Wednesday. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. The decision is now in the hands of the jury at the Adam Drake second-degree murder trial. They have been sequestered and began deliberating earlier today. Drake is accused of fatally stabbing battle rapper Pat Stay in a Halifax bar in September of 2022. The CBC's Preston Mulligan joins us now live outside the Dartmouth Provincial Court with the latest. Preston.
Good evening, Tom. Well, Justice Scott Norton began his instruction today to the jury simply by thanking them. This trial began on May the 12th, so this jury, 13-member jury, has been listening to testimony for more than a month, and their deliberations started just shortly after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, Justice Norton told them they've got three options here. He said they can find Adam Drake guilty of second-degree murder, they can find him not guilty, or they can find him guilty of manslaughter. Now, in the case of manslaughter, the jury would have to decide that Adam Drake did kill Pat Stay, but that he was in a state of mind such that he didn't believe his actions would actually lead to Stay's death. Now, Justice Norton summed up for the jury the cases presented by both the Crown and the defense. The key piece of evidence here, Tom, in this case is a surveillance video captured from inside the Yacht Club Social in downtown Halifax in the early morning hours of September the 4th of 2022. Now, at one point in that grainy black and white surveillance video, you can see Pat Stay. He's visible with his back to the camera. You can see he's having an altercation with someone, and as he turns around, he brushes what appears to be blood from the left side of his chest, and then he's punched from behind. He falls to the ground. He gets back up on his feet, and he leaves the camera's view. The video is very grainy, so there's a lot of discussion back and forth between the Crown and defense. The Crown saying you can clearly see that Adam Drake stabbed Pat Stay, and of course the defense says this, you can see that clearly Adam Drake did no such thing. Now, one thing that the jury is not aware of is that Drake has a previous conviction for first-degree murder. These details were left out of this trial entirely to protect the sanctity and the fairness of the trial for Adam Drake. Now, last year, Adam Drake was found guilty in the 2016 killing of Tyler Kaiser, and his family is here today. Kaiser was killed on Gottingen Street in Halifax. So, yeah, again, to protect Drake's rights to a fair trial, extra care was taken to prevent the jury from knowing about the Kaiser case. Now, the jury had until 6 p.m. to reach a verdict this afternoon. So what's just happening now is that the judge has extended, of course, the sequestration of the jury for we don't know how long. It's unclear how long the sequestration will last, how long the jury will deliberate before we have a verdict here one way or the other. Tom.
All right, Preston, thanks so much for the latest on that. The CBC's Preston Mulligan reporting for us live tonight. Well, less than a year after Colin Tweety was sentenced for the death of Talia Forrest, he's been granted day parole. The 10-year-old girl was struck and killed while riding her bike in 2019. The CBC's Kyle Moore reports.
It was in July of last year Colin Tweety was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for the driving death of 10-year-old Talia Forrest. Less than a year later, he's been granted day parole.
We spent 5 years fighting for justice while he was not even spending a minute behind bars, so it's not very surprising.
Talia was struck by an SUV while out for a bike ride on Black Rock Road in Big Brador in 2019. Tweety was found guilty of dangerous driving causing death, impaired driving causing death, and leaving the scene of an accident. At the time, Tweety said he thought he had hit a deer. In the decision, the Parole Board of Canada says Tweety does not have a criminal lifestyle, has acknowledged his shortcomings, and are satisfied he will not drink again. It says, in part, although you exercised extremely poor judgment, there is no clear indication that poor judgment is an inherent flaw. The plan before the board is in some ways an extension of your life lived for several years prior to trial.
I'm shocked, but again, I'm not surprised. I'm kind of sad that we fought so long for justice and then for him to get off not even a year for doing what he did.
The parole board also says Tweety hopes to pursue a career in construction and says he's used the past 6 years constructively, saying the plan involves your family, employment, or post-secondary education. Therein lies the structure and healthy routine you require. Although disappointed with the decision, Halen Williams says she will continue to tell her cousin's story.
I will continue to do that through my social media platforms. On her anniversaries and stuff like that, I will continue to tell her story and try to prevent others from driving impaired.
Tweety's release is not unusual in our justice system. Offenders are eligible for full parole after serving 1/3 of their sentence, and they can apply for day parole even earlier than that. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
A man has been arrested and is expected to face impaired driving charges in a fatal hit-and-run in Groves Point, Cape Breton. RCMP say a 40-year-old motorcyclist was killed in a collision with a car Saturday morning on Highway 105. The driver of the car fled the scene. Police say sometime later in the Groves Point area, they arrested a 42-year-old man from Sydney Mines who showed signs of intoxication and subsequently failed an alcohol breath test. Nova Scotia RCMP are investigating 2 recent fatal fires. On Monday, a body was found in a burned-out home in Colchester County. RCMP say the home in Alton, just south of Truro, was fully engulfed in flames when emergency responders arrived. Once the fire was extinguished, police say human remains were discovered inside. They say the fire does not appear to be suspicious. And in Shelburne County, a 74-year-old man and a dog were found dead in a West Head home. Police and fire services responded to the fire on West Head Road early Sunday morning. An investigation is ongoing, but at this time, the cause of the fire is also not considered to be suspicious. And with us now for the first look at the weather forecast, here's Ryan.
Yeah, Tom, you know what? Pretty nice day again for today. For this time of year, we'll take it. Temperatures for our high temperatures out there today, you can see we were in the low to creeping up towards mid-20s, especially in the valley in Ganesh Beach, one of our hotter spots at 25 degrees. This is going to be where we'll be the next couple of days. You can see temperatures nearing 20 along the Atlantic coastline for tomorrow and a little bit warmer towards northern areas. And this is where we're expecting to see a little bit more in the way of sunshine as this next system starts to approach. And so the clouds will start to build in overnight tonight. Chance for showers even as early as tomorrow tomorrow morning in through the western areas of the province. But I think the greatest chance is going to be right here in the southwest. Yarmouth, Shelburne, in through the South Shore. The valley may see a couple of breaks for sun tomorrow. Same thing through central. Eastern areas, we'll see the increasing clouds, but staying dry until Wednesday evening. Better chance for showers Thursday as the mugginess starts to rise. And then, that system hopefully kicking itself out of the region by the time we get to the weekend. We'll talk about that with your 7-day coming up in a few minutes, Tom.
Fingers are crossed, that's for sure. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
The head of Canada's Cyber Defence Agency says Nova Scotia Power reported the ransomware attack that compromised the personal data of about 280,000 customers to the agency. He also encourages other organizations to do so as well, should they experience a breach.
Because these organizations reach out to us, we hope that they share information about the compromise as well, because we can take that and share that with other critical infrastructure organizations in Canada as well and help them protect themselves before they also get victimized. So it's kind of like the broader good of Canada if organizations reach out to us. And in this case, they did. So we appreciated that.
Gupta says that all organizations should prepare themselves for the worst-case scenario when it comes to protecting cyber data. It is now easier for Nova Scotia's pet owners to shop local for their pets' needs. Canadian specialty pet retailer Pet Value, which has 37 stores across the province, has joined the Nova Scotia Loyal program. With the program's branding, shoppers will be able to easily identify locally made products on store shelves. There are more than a dozen registered Nova Scotia Loyal businesses that produce pet products, including food, treats, and toys. Julie Hood is with the Ocean Pride Fisheries in Wedgeport. They sell a panacea. It's a nutritional booster made from the flowers of sea cucumbers that you put over top of your pet food.
As a local business, we do believe that it's important to support each other, and when other local businesses like Pet Value here do so, it strengthens the community, it helps us hire more people, and it helps us overall be more successful as a province.
More than 1,000 local businesses have signed up for the Nova Scotia Loyal so far. A marine animal rescue group has confirmed a rare but unfortunate find on Nova Scotia's eastern shore. The Marine Animal Response Society says the remains of a large short-fin Mako shark were found Saturday near Port Dufferin. The endangered Mako shark is the fastest shark in the ocean, capable of reaching speeds up to 68 kilometers per hour. The rescue group says it remains unclear how the adult female shark died. Mako sharks are rarely seen close to shore, preferring warmer water far offshore. On Prince Edward Island, a battle is playing out over religion and land. At the heart of it, Buddhist monasteries that, according to information obtained by CBC Radio-Canada, have ties to the Chinese government. As Brigitte Bidot reports, 2 former federal investigators think that relationship warrants a public inquiry and a police investigation.
The vast Buddhist monasteries, numbering some 1,300 nuns and monks, are part of Bliss and Wisdom, a group born in Taiwan that China is threatening to invade. Chen Tuan Liang is a professor of Buddhist studies in Taiwan. He says many Taiwanese Buddhist groups have been infiltrated by pro-China forces, including Bliss and Wisdom. These groups are willing to echo the Chinese Communist Party's messaging to conserve their status under a Chinese government, he says. Research conducted in Mandarin on websites in Taiwan and China enabled Radio-Canada to trace many religious gatherings organized by Chinese government agencies in which Bliss and Wisdom participated. Bliss and Wisdom took part in one of those meetings in 2023 under the theme One Chinese Family, Hand in Hand to the Future, a reference to the annexation of Taiwan. A revealing meeting, says this expert.
Bliss and Wisdom, by participating in that event, especially with that kind of slogan, demonstrate that it's in agreement with the Communist Party.
Bliss and Wisdom monk Zinan spoke to Radio-Canada on behalf of the group's spiritual leader Zenru. Both of them live in PEI, but were traveling in Singapore on an Asian tour when we spoke to him.
Participation alone does not support the evidence that we are under the influence and control by CCP.
Yet the Buddhist Association of China, involved in many of these meetings, reports directly to the United Front, China's main tool of interference.
The United Front work is feeding people with what Beijing wants you to understand. The other element is to neutralize the dissidents.
Michel Junot-Katsuya and Gary Clement, 2 former federal investigators, have been looking into Bliss and Wisdom's links to China for months, and they are asking the RCMP to launch an investigation.
The organization has been used as a Trojan horse to infiltrate the Western world, and Canada in particular.
In Taiwan, Fan Yin was once a high-ranking Bliss and Wisdom monk. He was the first to sound the alarm. In 2017, he slammed the door to the group, accusing it of being controlled by China, an accusation he maintains to this day. He says he must report that Bliss and Wisdom is involved in the CCP's United Front operations. The RCMP says it does not comment on potential or ongoing investigations, but the monasteries are under a provincial investigation to determine whether they have acquired more territory than is legally permitted. Brigitte Bureau, CBC News, Ottawa.
Maritime grain producers are keeping a watchful eye on their fields these days, looking out for signs of disease. And now they have a new online tool to help them out. The CBC's Nancy Russell reports.
PEI farmers have a new online system to warn them when their crops are in danger from a costly disease called Fusarium head blight. It can damage the heads of cereal plants, including spring wheat, winter wheat, and barley, and contaminate the grain, making it toxic at certain levels to humans and livestock.
There's been years where, there's thousands of acres that have been destroyed in the field or hauled out of bins, so it's huge economic impact.
That's what scientists are trying to prevent by tracking weather conditions, especially humidity and rainfall.
Generally, this disease is quite endemic in our area, which means it's pretty much here all the time. But when you get a risk of disease actually happening, it's typically because you get warm, humid conditions. What the forecast tool will actually do is examine weather over the last week and incorporate those factors into the models to actually predict whether disease is likely to occur or not.
Foster says the forecasting tool is important on PEI, where growers have had the disease in recent years.
It's hard to predict whether in any given year you're going to have Fusarium head blight. Over the years, we've had a number of different epidemics, and the growers here will all remember 2023 was a pretty bad year for Fusarium head blight, where a lot of grain was lost because of the disease.
Foster says a warning system is important because once Fusarium head blight is in a field, it's hard to stop, and spores can even spread to other crops in other fields. Researchers are also tracking how pathogens like this one are responding to changing weather conditions.
It doesn't necessarily mean that climate change will make it worse, but in some of the climate predictions have said that we will get warmer and wetter. And Fusarium graminearum likes warm and wet weather.
There are also plans to continue improving the forecasting tool and potentially expand it.
And even looking at forecasting other diseases that affect cereal and oilseed crops.
This is going to be a real asset, I think, going forward for the industry.
The forecasting tool is available on the website of the Atlantic Grains Council, free of charge to growers across the Maritimes. Nancy Russell, CBC News, Newton.
Well, we could find out tonight if the Stanley Cup is returning to Nova Scotia. Hammonds Plains native Brad Marchand and the Florida Panthers look to clinch the Cup with a Game 6 victory over the Edmonton Oilers. It would be Marchand's second Stanley Cup. He previously went all the way with the Boston Bruins back in 2011. And the last time the Cup was won by a Nova Scotian was in 2022 when Cole Harbour native Nathan McKinnon brought it back to the province as part of the Colorado Avalanche. Halifax Hydrostones today, pretty nice place to be. A lot of nice places to be in Nova Scotia today. It was a gorgeous day. Ryan back with your full weather forecast in just a few minutes.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, we showed the Halifax Hydrostones there before we went to break. A couple of folks out enjoying the outdoors on a sidewalk there. Boy, what a great day it was for any and all of that kind of activity.
Yeah, that's right. And a great day to be visiting Halifax and Nova Scotia, and have a look at our webcam video. And yeah, you can see.
Oh, they're leaving, are they? Are they coming? Oh, they're coming in, yeah.
No, I believe they're leaving.
Are they leaving?
Yeah, but when I loaded this up, they were docked there, so I believe they're on their way out there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, beautiful day to be visiting the city.
Great day for a sail.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, it's now cruise ship season, no question, all across Nova Scotia. We're going to be looking at lots of visitors coming in from land and the water and the air. And so, yeah, we'll hope that we'll have more days like this for us and our visitors to enjoy as we look at temperatures out there right now. 18 in Halifax, and temperatures still hanging on to the low 20s across northern parts of the province. As we look at the winds, we're they're sustained around 20 kilometers per hour in most cases. A couple of gusts upwards of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour in the northeast, where it has been breeziest today. And you can see this frontal boundary lifting in, and as a result, we're getting into this warmer air, but also muggier air that's going to be creeping up and along and ahead of this front that does move through over the next couple of days. And you can see temperatures across Canada right now pretty pleasant, from 22 in Vancouver, 24 in Winnipeg, 16 in St. John's, 19 in Halifax. Another day in the 40s in Arizona and down towards New Mexico. And you can see that temperatures in Florida also into the 30s today. Most of the snowbirds back by now, I would think. Now, as we look at the forecast for tonight, temperatures are going to be high single, low double digits. We'll see a chance for a shower before morning in Yarmouth, Digby, and Shelburne County. That's on the leading edge of the wet weather that will creep its way into the province for overnight into tomorrow. Fog patches developing overnight tonight, especially along the coast. We are going to be seeing there's that chance for showers, the Tri-County area. But note this system will be running into this drier air that's currently in place. So it will try to work its way in, but start to kind of fizzle out as it marches its way into central. A couple of sprinkles perhaps in through the metro area, Cobequid Bay up towards Colchester, Cumberland. But overall, it looks like the wet weather will only really make its way into especially the southwest. This is where Yarmouth, Shelburne, the South Shore, that onshore flow, fog patches, drizzle, shower chances. I think even the valley into the afternoon we'll likely see a few breaks of sun, and that looks like those showers will stay on this side of South Mountain. And as we work our way into the east, a brighter day looking at sun and cloud and a fine day overall for Cape Breton. Temperatures ranging between about 16 to 20, bit warmer, Port Hood, Mabu up towards Cheticamp, and in through Inverness and Victoria County, and Antigonish near 22 tomorrow. Again, cooler in the onshore winds for the eastern shore, but we are looking at those temperatures, or at least the precipitation to stay at bay. Halifax area right around 20 degrees again tomorrow. Fog patches retreating back to the coast. We know the cruise ships, the folks coming in all love Peggy's Cove. That it will be a popular spot tomorrow, but I am expecting the fog monster to be looming there along the coast near Peggy's. And so a heads up on that, and temperatures there likely 15 or 16. Nice day up through Colchester, Cumberland. Again, a chance for isolated showers in the valley, but I think some sun breaking through there, and temperatures for the most part mild. And this will be the dampest and foggiest forecast tomorrow will indeed be in the southwest. Now Thursday, we're all into the showers off and on throughout the day. Muggy air is going to certainly be building in for Thursday as well. Temperatures right along the coastline into the high teens will be into the low 20s across northern areas of the province on Thursday. And that's ahead of this next system, which will, by the looks of things, bring most of the wet weather to the St. Lawrence Seaway, Gaspé, New Brunswick, and then into our neck of the woods. Chance for some showers, but then clearing into the afternoon. The wet weather for sure is needed. Burn ban update, again, only allowed right now. Limited burning between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. Make sure you're keeping an eye on that over the next couple of days. So we do need some wet weather, and then we can enjoy the weekend, which at this point, Tom, looks quiet. And we'll take that quiet, especially with our run over the last few months. We could take a nice quiet weekend with a little bit of sun breaking through.
Yeah, everyone looking forward to that. Let's hope it holds. Okay, Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, we hear why Trump's policies have influenced a U.S. lawmaker to resign and relocate to Nova Scotia. Fallout from Trump policies. A Vermont lawmaker is resigning and relocating to Nova Scotia. She says there are a number of reasons for her decision, including her personal safety as a member of the LGBTQ community. Representative Mari Cortez is with us from Vermont. So, Ms. Cortez, why are you making this move?
I am moving so that I can continue to have full-time work, the kind of work that I love, and that is cardiology, intensive care, nursing. I am also moving because part of the reason I'm looking for full-time work is our healthcare system in the state of Vermont is in the process of potentially collapsing. Many nurses are losing hours. Hospitals are lowering their average daily census in order to lower cost. And if the federal bill, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, passes and Medicaid rates are significantly cut that will devastate hospitals and clinics across the country and including in Vermont. So my prospects as someone who loves to work, and I love my job and my career, my prospects are not looking good. And I'm also very horrified by what is happening in my country, what the government is doing. And I myself have experienced personal attacks and death threats as a state representative. And as a public person, I just want to be somewhere where I can do what I love, which is working with other people to try to make things better, and to be able to be who I am, a queer woman, and someone who loves to work and loves the outdoors. And Nova Scotia has all of that. And Nova Scotia, I'm so grateful. They have opened their door and helped me through the immigration process, the licensing process, so that I can work as a nurse in Nova Scotia. And I'm very excited. I'll be heading out in about 2 weeks, and I'll be working in Valley Regional Hospital in Kentville.
Okay. I want to ask you about, or maybe have you talk about the political tension and the turmoil in the U.S. that you allude to there. We just saw the shooting of the Minnesota lawmaker. How much does that part of the culture or the equation enter into your decision?
It certainly underscores that I'm making the right decision. The amount of hate and vitriol has increased so much in the last 10 years. Especially since the first Trump administration. And I would also say COVID, I think, created a lot of trauma for a lot of people. And I think maybe lashing out, it may be part of that trauma. And then we've become such a virtual society, and it's so much easier to not see the humanity in other people when you're communicating through a screen.
So are you?
Yeah.
Are you in some ways? Sorry to interrupt there, but are you in some ways making a political statement, or at the very least a political example, by doing what you're doing here?
Not intentionally. I tend to work for others much more than I do for myself. I think this is one of the first times I've taken such a big step towards taking care of myself. I've been very active in social issues around LGBTQ plus issues, healthcare issues, immigration issues, and I think that's where I have why I have received some of the hate that I have in the United States. I've also received a lot of support. But as I said earlier, I just want to go somewhere where I can do the work that I love, be the person that I am, and be in community with other people.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Making the community great.
Sorry to hear about your troubles there. Quickly, just before I let you go, we've been making a lot of efforts in this province and this country to bring professionals here, medical professionals in particular. How did you find that transition?
The Nova Scotia Health, from the recruiter to the immigration consultant, everyone has been fabulous. They've been very helpful. Currently, All Points Relocation is helping me find a place to live, and my immigration consultant has guided me through the CUSMA process. I'll be going to the border tomorrow to get my 3-year work permit, my SIN number, and a bank account. And all of it has been very straightforward, and everyone's been very kind, and I'm very grateful.
Okay, well, maybe we'll see you on the roads in Nova Scotia sometime. You never know. You know, we operate on the metric system here. Are you ready for that?
I'm practicing up on the metrics and all things Canadian. I have a very soft spot for Canada. I spent a lot of time in Ontario in the wilderness as a kid. So I feel like in some ways like I'm coming home.
Well, very nice. We welcome you when you do get here. Nice to chat with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced billions in support for Ukraine as the G7 summit wraps up. And escalating conflict in the Middle East has closed airspace, leaving Canadians in Israel and Iran stranded. Welcome back. Canada has promised $4.3 billion in new support for embattled Ukraine. Prime Minister Mark Carney made the announcement at the G7 summit on Tuesday. He also condemned Russia's deadly missile and drone attack on Kyiv.
This underscores the importance of standing in total solidarity with Ukraine, with the Ukrainian people. And we had a discussion last night amongst G7 leaders. The President and I will discuss more.
Carney met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the summit. About half of the amount of Canada's donation will go toward weapons and items such as drones, ammunition, and armored vehicles. The other half will be to help Ukraine rebuild infrastructure that has been shattered in the war. Canada also announced a new sanctions targeting Russia's energy revenue and hundreds of vessels in the Shadow Fleet. Those vessels move around oil, liquefied natural gas, weapons, and other items. After departing early from the G7 summit in Canada, Donald Trump met with advisors at the White House about the escalating crisis between Iran and Israel. The U.S. president said he wants to see a real end to the conflict and an end to Tehran's nuclear program. This, as speculation grows, he may be leaning towards more direct involvement. Sasha Petrusik has the latest from Washington.
Even on the flight out of Canada on Air Force One, Trump was insistent.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
He says he's looking for something more than a ceasefire in the war between Iran and Israel. He wants Iran's nuclear program stopped, maybe destroyed. As the two Mideast countries trade airstrikes in a 4-day war that shows no sign of slowing or achieving Israel's goal of preventing Tehran from building a nuclear bomb, the U.S. has been making moves of its own. It's brought in more ships and planes, and Trump's social media posts point to even more direct U.S. involvement. He boasted that it's American-made weapons used by Israel that have cleared Iran's defense systems. He threatened to kill Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, not now, but maybe. And he posted a demand for unconditional surrender from Tehran, all in the space of 1 hour this morning. Israel has long pushed for the U.S. to join this war. It especially needs America's biggest bunker-busting bomb to destroy Iran's most important underground nuclear plant. The huge bomb can only be dropped by American pilots using the U.S. B-52 bomber. Iran has reportedly suggested it's ready to negotiate now, and Trump's not closing the door on talking, says a State Department spokeswoman.
Negotiations looking for diplomatic solutions to generational problems that he wants solved diplomatically.
But discussions with Trump's national security team in the White House Situation Room today suggest other options are on the table. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Washington.
The war between Israel and Iran has escalated further as the two countries continue to attack on each other for the fifth day. Margaret Evans has more.
Israel's war with Iran, no longer hidden in the shadows that once contained it, but out in the open, powerful enough to empty out Tel Aviv's beaches, while the threat of Iranian missiles remains. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists the decision to attack Iran will ensure Israel's future. Michael Danilov believes him.
Many of us hope the government has the people of Israel at the first priority.
Israel's military says the aim is to knock out Iran's nuclear capability once and for all. But government ministers here continue to hint at regime change. Defense Minister Israel Katz taunting Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, with the ghost of Saddam Hussein. Remember what happened to the dictator in Iraq, he's saying, who took this path against Israel. Most Israelis consider Iran an existential threat, but not everyone favors the government's methods. Yair Golan is an opposition leader, out viewing damage left by an Iranian missile strike.
We have a very clear mission to diminish the nuclear military capability of Iran. This is the most important issue concerning the existence of Israel.
Is it a distraction then that the Prime Minister keeps mentioning regime change?
I think it's totally unnecessary, but as you know, I do not support this government.
Analysts say Israel shouldn't count on the Iranian people to rise up and help topple their own regime, no matter how much they might loathe its repression. Ranad Mansour is with the London-based think tank Chatham House.
When you have a missile directed at you and your family, do you say, yes, please bomb us if this means democracy and a better life?
Israel's evacuation orders to residents in Tehran have sparked panic, heightened by an echo from the U.S. President Donald Trump. Israel's strongest ally and the one with the power to shape what remains an uncertain horizon. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
The escalating conflict in the Middle East has led most countries in the region to close their airspace. That includes Israel and Iran. Canadians now stranded in both countries. Yasmin Ganea has more.
It's been probably 20 or 30 times that we've been in and out of shelters, sometimes once every 45 minutes.
Eisenberg is in Israel as part of an international delegation invited by the country's foreign ministry to meet with members of the LGBTQ+ community.
There's a lot of emotions. We understand the concept of the shelters and the concept that we're safe, but at the same time, there is so much that we don't know. We don't know if it's going to hit near us. We don't know how many are coming at us.
With Israeli airspace closed to civilian planes, she says the Canadian embassy has warned her it could be days or weeks before she could get out of the country.
So that was actually more anxiety-inducing in a weird way than any of the rockets have been up to this point.
Iran's airspace is also closed. Toronto resident Sarah Shariati's father is trapped in Tehran.
When the strikes first started, he could hear them while inside the house. And as the attacks are getting more intense and more frequent, he's worried and is unsure of what he should do.
There is no Canadian embassy in Iran. Global Affairs says its ability to provide consular services is extremely limited. It says it has not received any reports of Canadians injured or killed in relation to the escalations in the Middle East. Those who are stranded will continue to shelter in place as necessary and hope the conflict doesn't escalate even further. Yasmin Ghanea, CBC News, Vancouver.
First Nations groups held a protest rally on Parliament Hill against the federal government's One Canadian Economy bill. Bill C5 would grant sweeping powers to fast-track major infrastructure projects, and it's drawn sharp criticism from the Indigenous leaders. David Thurton reports.
Ottawa's major projects bill facing some pushback.
A lot of things that are troubling. That should trouble all of us.
It's an excuse for them to power grab and create more political power for both levels of government.
Ontario's First Nations gathered on Parliament Hill as the government rushes through legislation.
It's very emotional for me as an environmentalist to know that this damage is going to be left to our children.
As Donald Trump's trade war threatens the Canadian economy, the Liberal government says the bill is about getting mines, ports, and pipelines built fast, especially those snarled in overlapping regulatory and permitting processes.
For too long, when federal agencies have examined a new project, their immediate question has been why. With this bill, we will instead ask ourselves how.
But some Liberals are uncomfortable with the bill.
I support a lot of what's in the Building Canada Act as well. There are two major problems, and if those problems aren't resolved, then I'm not going to support it at third reading.
The bill allows the government to approve a project up front, along with exempting any project from any federal law. A sweeping power that will be in effect for 5 years. The NDP and the Bloc oppose the bill as it stands.
Will the Liberals take the time to answer questions on C5 instead of forcing it down Parliament's throat?
The government says consultation with Indigenous people is woven throughout the bill.
Let me be absolutely clear. Major projects will only proceed under this Act with meaningful consultation and accommodation with Indigenous peoples.
The bill has broad support from industry, and Conservatives are signaling they'll back it too, which likely ensures its passage to the House by the end of the week. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
The 34-year-old mother of a missing toddler has made a court appearance in Quebec. Rachel Todd has been charged with child abandonment. The Crown prosecutor says an investigation is ongoing.
For now, we don't know what happened to Madame, the little girl. For now, we have the police officer still investigating, so we want to make sure that nothing more tragic is going on.
Police are continuing a massive search for 3-year-old Claire Bell. Authorities say the little girl was last seen Sunday morning in Montreal and was reported missing by her mother later that day in a community 50 kilometers west of the city. The charge alleges that Todd abandoned the child and put her life and health in danger. Searchers are looking for the girl in several locations, including an area where a dog that may have belonged to her was found Monday. Thousands of Canadian women miscarry every year. A doctors group has issued new health guidelines for those experiencing early pregnancy loss. As Alison Northcott explains, the emotional and psychological toll is often overlooked.
This Toronto hospital has a specialized clinic for early pregnancy, an alternative to the emergency room to support patients through complications like miscarriages.
We provide nursing care, physician care, ultrasound, lab care all in one place, so we can help patients figure out what exactly is going on in their early pregnancy complication.
A new clinical practice guideline by the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada says early pregnancy loss is common and often overlooked as a treatment priority. It calls on clinicians to screen patients for depression after pregnancy loss and for more early pregnancy assessment clinics like the one in Toronto.
We are not talking about, building new facilities. We're talking about leveraging the existence of what we have right now. Having a room just dedicated for these women.
The guideline says early pregnancy loss occurs in about 15% of pregnancies. The mental health impacts can include depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Women can have prolonged mental health issues from this, and research will show that if it's dealt with effectively with compassionate care and the proper follow-up, we lessen that risk.
Another recommendation is to ensure medications that help manage pregnancy loss are free and available across Canada.
What essentially we want is, regardless of where you're receiving your care in Canada, it will be consistent, it will be based on recommendations, and it will be the best care that can be delivered.
It was just devastating because it was my first pregnancy, and my husband and I, we were so excited to finally welcome our first child.
Bethany Murray had 2 pregnancy losses within a year.
Mental health support should be more of a thing when it comes to early pregnancy loss.
She hopes the guidelines lead to more compassion for patients like her within the healthcare system. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, would have been a nice day to have a walk on the beach for sure.
Yeah.
And there's more to come.
That's right. We're going to have summer-like temperatures. Certainly over northern areas of the province. That onshore flow is going to be felt definitely along the Atlantic coastline over the next couple of days, keeping temps cooler, fog patches, some showers and drizzle, especially Thursday. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day. This one, just a terrific shot from Hansport, and Cal Collins catching a pretty special moment here.
Supper time.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's nature in action. Wonderful.
Very. Cal mentioning he wishes the doe didn't eat all his plants, however.
I was wondering about the flower gardens. They might take a toll,
Yeah, she's doing a bit of damage there, but worth the price of admission, I suppose, when you're catching moments like this. Cal, thank you so much for that. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Showers, drizzle, and fog, again, most prevalent in the south and west of the province. For tomorrow, we will see some sunshine breaking through the valley somewhat. Some breaks there, but it'll be limited. Same thing through the metro area. Brighter skies towards Cape Breton and the North Shore, and that's where we will indeed see quite a bit of sun, I think, breaking through, especially in the morning. Southerly winds, though, on the increase throughout the day. There's Thursday, clouds dominating, chance for showers and drizzle and fog patches, again hugging that coastline throughout the day, and a bit of a muggy feel to Thursday for sure. Now as we look ahead to the long-range outlook here, so there's the system kind of crawling in from west to east, and we will be looking at for Thursday. There's that, lots of blobs of green there with those showers moving in, and then that system will slowly start to clear away towards the weekend, which is great, and it does look like a quiet weekend shaping up as we welcome summer.
All right, that sounds pretty good. Thanks, Ryan. Mentioned the beach there earlier. In Spain, a new recruit has joined the local beach rescue squad. He's making quite a splash.
Vamos, aquí, muy bien.
Nado is a 2-year-old standard poodle, but his breed is more of an exception than a standard in lifeguard duties. Canine beach squads in the country usually use Labradors.
When a swimmer is in distress, human rescuers are the first to reach the person. Then Nilo or one of his squad mates are brought in to tow them back to safety.
The breed name comes from the German word Puden, and it means splash in the water. Capable of that, for sure.
Yeah.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.